Hi, Rebecca. Thanks for meeting with me today. I'm in the field a lot and I find myself not being able to ground
Mhm.
immediately. I would
Yeah,
love to have some hacks,
yeah.
some kind of growth that I can maybe work on my breathing. Is there
Hmm.
anything that you can provide for me? Any kind of hacks that when I'm in the field and in that moment and not necessarily freaking out, but I can build to, hey, Rebecca taught me this.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Great question, sweetheart. I always say, any kind of pressure can make us feel sort of out of sorts, or any kind of intense energy coming at us, whether it's what you do or what any of us do in the world. And so I like to call it like ways that we can ground our nervous system, right? So you can use these not only when you're at your job, but anytime, anywhere, right? So the first thing I always say is to quiet the mind intentionally. And so it's just simply recognizing I'm in a moment of stress, and we're not always aware, we're not always able to do it in that moment. But if you can start training your brain to go, okay, this is one of those times I need to quiet my mind, right? So
Nice.
that's the first step, quiet the mind, right?
Quiet the mind.
Quiet the mind. And if you're able to, closing eyes is another fast way to quiet the mind, only if you're able to. Obviously, if your eyes have to be open in the situation, if you don't
Yeah.
have like a second to yourself.
Right.
But if you can, eyes closed immediately takes you out of all the chaos of what's going on. So quiet mind, eyes closed. The third step is start to connect to breath. Connect to the breath. And how do we do that?
How do we do
Well,
that?
by taking in a big, deep inhale. My favorite way to recommend people to take breaths is in through the nose and an audible sigh to soften and release. And think of on that exhale, like everything in your body melting. I like to use the word melt and soften.
Perfect.
So three, let's go through it real quick. So it's three steps. Quiet the mind, close the eyes, connect to breath, and then take the breath. Inhale into the nose, audible sigh, open the mouth, exhale, let it go. Soften and melt, right? That is the simplest, easiest thing. Now, you can repeat that cycle 5 times, 10 times, until you start to feel connected to self again. We know the feelings of being disconnected, out of sorts, feeling ungrounded, uncentered, and it's usually our thoughts are spinning. It's usually we might start to sweat. We feel our heart rate our heart race, the heartbeat goes up. We could feel, sometimes we get the opposite of sweating, we shiver. But so, and you just
True.
generally start to feel out of sorts. And so it's a knowingness. It's not even really having to identify. We just know when we're off,
So
when
true.
we're out of a calm nervous system, right? And so anytime you notice that, being able to immediately call into play just those 4 steps, right? Quiet the mind, close the eyes, connect to breath, take a breath.
Mm.
And then, like I said, there's a way to even take that deeper depending on how much time you have to ground further. And how I would do that, if you had the time, let's say you knew you were going into a stressful situation and you wanted to preempt the disconnection, the ungrounding that's probably going to happen once you get there. So to preempt that, you set yourself up by a grounding technique. And there's many of them. There's specific breath exercises that are excellent for grounding nervous systems. One of my favorites is called box breathing. And do you want me to show you that one for fun? Okay.
Yes.
So this is a great one, and a lot of like Navy SEALs use it. A lot of people literally in combat or intense situations on the regular, on the daily, use this one as their go-to. So box breathing is done like this. I'm going to kind of model it first, and then we'll do it together. So it's an inhale for a 4 count into the nose. Then it's a breath hold for 4. Then it's an open mouth exhale for 4. And then it's another pause at the bottom of that exhale for 4. So if you were thinking you're making a box, you're drawing a box with what you're doing. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. So let's try it together. So we're going to inhale into the nose, and I'll count you. Okay, so inhale into the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Open mouth, exhale, 2, 3, 4. At the bottom, hold 2, 3, 4. And then rest. But in play, this would be continuous. So you might do it 4 to 6 cycles. You might do it 6 to 8 cycles. I always recommend playing with it shorter duration rather than longer until you get comfortable with it. Often what can happen when we do breath exercises of any kind is we can feel a little more anxious at first, and we can feel shallow, short of breath at first until we get comfortable with the rhythm, the pattern, and the whole idea of connecting to breath, right? And you probably know this, like most of us aren't really connected to breath. We're just not. Like we never are taught about it. It's something we do involuntarily every day. And so we don't pay attention, we're not mindful of it until someone like a me comes along and says, hey, Amber, here's how to connect to your breath.
I'm so glad I found you.
Yeah.
Just life-changing, so.
Yeah, cool, I love it. And so just always remembering that the simplest thing you can think of is just breath awareness. And that's just where you intentionally say for the next minute or 2 or 3, I'm just gonna be aware of my breath. I'm not gonna judge it, I'm not gonna correct it, I'm not gonna shape it or mold it, I'm just gonna notice it. And in that, even in the act of noticing the breath, you're getting mindful, you're getting aware, you're connecting and you're grounding, right? Wow. So box breathing, breath awareness, the 4 steps that I gave you just for a quick connection in the moment are some of my simplest quick hacks. And we could go on and on. I've got so many other tools. There's specific grounding techniques where you actually walk barefoot in the grass, walk barefoot in sand, put your feet to the ground as a grounding technique just to calm you, right? There's all kinds of things. There's tapping, which is another style. It doesn't necessarily involve breath so much, but it's more of like tapping on certain points of the body. There's tapping here, there's tapping there, there's tapping here. And you say a saying along with the tapping of certain meridian points. And this is known to cause anxiety and spinning thoughts and just general malaise in the body. But again, that is a whole technique that takes a period of time. So I wouldn't say that's like in the field quick hack. That's something that more if like you're sitting at home and you're feeling stressed out or anxious or spinning thoughts, it's a beautiful way to kind of calm the nervous system and reframe your negative spinning loop thoughts, right? The tape player, I always say, that's in our head with all the bullshit on it. And so to reframe that, to reset that, tapping is a really good go-to tool.
Wow. That's so much good intel.
Good. I love it.
I can definitely take away the quick hacks because the job is so quick and so intense. And sometimes most of us agents know when it's about to happen because we could feel it, and there's all kinds of other things that go on and different tells, signs happening, and we can pick up on it. But before we speak to the client, we need to be centered,
grounded, and 100%.
This is exactly what I've needed for so long. So I'm so grateful for you and for you teaching me, and
you're welcome.
Time and space, because this is just the beginning of our growth.
Yeah. Yes.
And I would love to teach even the guys and the other women agents because this is clearly needed.
Yeah.
And it's just so everyone's like, oh, we don't need that. I'm like,
I know.
No, I think we need to get back to the basics, which is free. It's breathing.
Yeah.
And it's just a different mindset. So I'm so grateful for you and your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.